Now back to the show. This is AM 650's The Law Show.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Sterling Fox, joined in studio by Rain Henderson and Kevin Heinrichs from Henderson Heinrichs LLP. Online, by the way, at hhlaw.ca. You can learn all about the team in Vancouver and the new group forming up and getting started in Toronto. We're talking family law and divorce and child support and all of the details that go into family law. And Henderson Heinrichs LLP is a different kind of firm in that, Rain. You told us about how you've grown the staff size in order to accommodate the growing reality of mediation and arbitration and collaborative processes that are so much being encouraged now. But when a person becomes a client of Henderson Heinrichs, they're getting whoever the lawyer is that they've selected or been assigned to. But you share cases, don't you? You bounce stuff around, so you're getting a lot of input from a lot of different perspectives that can only help a client.
Absolutely. The one thing that we've done with the lawyers that have working for us is they have all been carefully selected. We've been very, very vigilant about who comes on.
Right.
And we're a social group. So what we like to see happen, and it just sort of happens a natural free flow. Someone will come out of their office with a question, and I will either walk into Kevin's office. It seems more often than not everybody's in my office.
It's your office.
I have a couch. And so someone will come in with a question. And it will be, well, am I crazy here? And they'll bounce something that they have a concern about. And then Kevin will walk by, and then he'll come in, and he'll weigh in on it. And then before you know it, I have 6 lawyers in my office, and we're all talking about this one person's file. And we're all, well, what about this? What about that? And everybody has some level of understanding about what other cases are in the office.
Sure.
When we have, does this sound right? Should we do this? We'll feed off each other. It's really a good system. So you get the opportunity to say, yeah, okay, well, Kevin Heinrichs is my lawyer. He's my front man. But I know that when he has, he's basing his decisions on his experience, on what he's talking about with the other lawyers in the firm. And so it's a real team approach.
You're getting a firm when you hire us. You're not getting a lawyer. And
right.
That's the biggest part of this, right?
When you have that initial conversation, when your life is, the rug has literally been pulled out from underneath you and everything is topsy-turvy, it's just an emotional maelstrom, and you're crazy, and you need to talk to a lawyer. I've got to find out how to sort all of this out. Suddenly there's the Family Law Act, and there's children and property and income and oh my gosh, a million questions, and I'm just a mess. Mm-hmm. When you have that meeting, that first interview to find out all of those basic details, is there a cost?
No, absolutely not. We have to know whether or not we can work together as a team. Again, I talked about the intimacy of this relationship with your family lawyer. I might not like you, you might not like me, and we're going to basically part ways at the end of that consultation.
Right.
Or we're going to develop a rapport,
right.
and we're going to be able to trust each other. And we need to feel each other out for that first session and decide.
You know what, too? Most people going through a divorce haven't been through a lot of divorces before.
Well, yeah. One can only hope.
One can hope. I mean, there are exceptions to that.
Yes.
But generally, this is the first time that any of these people are going to see a lawyer.
Of course.
And so when they come in our office, we're not there to say, sign up. We're there to say, here's some information.
Right.
This is information you can use to make a better decision. This is sometimes we have clients come into our office, and quite often we'll say, look, you don't need a lawyer.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You don't need to do anything at this point. You can go home and you can be secure that you're okay on this, right?
Right. But people don't even know that.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's exactly right.
And that's why having that first visit is so critical, and having that first visit be no obligation, because you may think you have to do a bunch of things and you're stressed and you're not focused on what you need to be.
Right.
And if we can diffuse that and say, no, you're fine, go ahead. Or, no, oh, yeah, we need to take this. You need to take these proactive steps, because if you are concerned about money leaving a bank account, well, you're going to have to take proactive steps to make sure. So it really is, it's a critical thing to get that first blush of what are going to be the issues here, and can we strategize to get you to a place where you're going to be better off in a shorter period of time, or are we going to say, look, you can figure this out on your own and come back if there's any bumps in the road?
Yeah. And you're going to get an idea at that first meeting how long this might take,
right?
How much this might cost. And I mean, it can be a lesser amount. It can be a massive amount,
Sure.
depending what the issues are.
Mhm.
You want to know, what are the issues? Half the time people walk into our office, they don't even know what the issues are going to be.
Right.
And we're going to go through and we're going to say, look, here's the deal. You're splitting up at this point, or you're potentially splitting up at this point. Have you thought about this? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about this?
Right.
And we're able to organize things in the client's mind so that they know what the issues are going to be. And that helps an awful lot sometimes to calm a person down, that they at least have some control over what the issues are.
Right. I've alluded to the matter of child support a few times in this conversation. We haven't really got there yet. So, Rain, is that, in terms of resolving disputes between grown-ups in a divorce scenario, is the child support usually the thorniest issue?
It can be, because it's one of these things where it is it's a big chunk of money,
Sure.
potentially, and there's no tax deduction to it. So it's after tax dollars that are going from one parent to the other. And so we see situations where sometimes people with not the best intentions try to bolster up their time with their child to minimize their support obligations.
Oh.
Or they say, look, I suddenly had this lucrative job, but I'm feeling a little stressed, so I'm going to quit my job and head off to Costa Rica for a while. Now, those are the extreme cases. For the most part, you have a situation where you have two families with two working parents, and they can figure out what their incomes are, and then where the kids rest in each home is going to determine what the support looks like. But it can be a thorny issue, because it really then it's who gets the money, and then there's the whole other layer of, well, Johnny wants to go to riding school. Oh my goodness, dance. Kids in dance. I have so many clients that have so much money going out the door to little dance school, 5 nights of competition, and how do you, it was working when we were together as a family unit, because
Right.
we could put together our resources and could foster that. But now we're two separate families. We each have rent or mortgages that we're paying for.
Right.
And suddenly the $10,000 every 6 months that's going out for dance, it's just not affordable anymore.
Sure.
And so that's where it becomes a thorny issue.
A lot of my clients have kids in hockey.
Oh, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And hockey's a big issue. Hockey's a huge
Almost
issue,
as
right?
expensive as skiing.
It
isn't
is, yes.
Yep. Well,
Yeah.
that NHL lucrative payoff at the end of the day.
You go to any hockey game in any rink in Canada, and you will find at least a dozen parents in that rink who
Yep.
are just waiting for Junior to make it to the NHL and buy them a house.
Exactly. A house and a new car.
In addition to the child support matters, though, and you've already alluded to this, Kevin, you've talked about the money issues that really bog things down. So beyond the matters of determining child support, what are the other major money issues of contention?
Property division is probably the biggest one. So when two people split up, they don't both get to keep all the stuff.
True.
And it is sometimes a bit of a fight to divide things up. Who contributed towards buying the house? Who paid the mortgage every month? Who earned more money during the relationship? Sometimes people think that that is the most important thing. I had the big job and you were just staying home taking care of the kids.
Right.
Where in actual fact, the New Family Law Act says that the basic rule is the stuff that you acquire during the marriage gets split between you.
Okay.
And the stuff that you had when you came into the marriage generally goes to the person who brought it in. And the increase in value of the stuff you brought in also gets divided between the parties. That's the general rule. Now, there are all types of fine print down there.
Oh, I'm sure.
And this is where it's untested. We really,
exactly.
Because it's only been a year, we haven't had a lot of property division trials where we can go and look at case law and say, okay, here's how this excluded property is being dealt with. It's changed how we focus on things. One of the things we really want our clients to do is to save money in bringing stuff to us. If a client can come to us with, look, here, I bought my house before marriage, here's the purchase documents, here's what I paid for it. Wow, that saves them a ton of money, because now I don't have to have my assistant go back and try to get
The
file.
land titles office and all of that, sure.
And so part of the thing is really minimizing the cost to the client in that footery kind of research.
And we would tell the person when they first come to our office during that initial consultation, look, here are the types of documents we need from you. Why don't you go and get that stuff so that when you come back, if you decide you want to retain us, we're going to be able to control the costs a little bit so that, I mean, you can pay me a large amount of legal fees for me to phone up the land title office and get things
Sure.
for you if you want.
Or you can do it yourself.
Or you can do it yourself
Yep.
for free.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and that's, and it again, it comes down to those are things that add up very quickly. All of those searches, all of that festering around to try to find values, because we're more in a value based kind of assessment of property division. It's not so much back in the old, pre-March 2013, we talked about contribution, we talked about how properties were acquired, inheritances and things like that.
Right.
They were more vague and more very much within the discretion of a judge to allocate how, if 50-50 was unfair, how things were going to be divided.
Yep.
We shouldn't be seeing that sort of discretion-based kind of decision now. So it should be, here's the number that I paid, here's what I brought into the marriage, here's what it is at this point in time, do the math.
So we're talking back to child support, if you don't mind, for
Absolutely.
a minute.
Yeah, no
Rain. The matter of the determination of the finances of the dollar value involved. There are formulae, are there not, that the court employs based on income and assets and liabilities and all that? There is a grid that you can plug your numbers into, and therein might be the determination of the child support.
That is, one of the things we like is simplicity. And so when someone comes to us with a T4 because they've been an employee of the Royal Bank or something like that, and this is all their earnings are, we plug it in and tell them how many kids there are, and it spits out the number for them.
which is fine when you know what the people's incomes are.
Sure.
But our problems, when people come to us, often how much a person makes is the issue itself. So, I have been approached and I have been told that the other side is not working but is perfectly capable of working.
Right.
Or is not, or has worked until last month and has now quit her job. And the real question is, what should her income be for the purposes of determining what child maintenance is? Right?
Okay.
So yeah, that's one level.
Yeah.
Where I it sort of came into play a while ago, but there's a little section in the child support guidelines that basically means that if you're a self-employed person, or if you have income that you earn through your own corporation or a corporation that you have an ownership interest in, suddenly it doesn't matter what you think you pay yourself. That's not the determining factor.
Because that's a tax dance a lot of times,
exactly,
isn't it?
It is. And I had a lovely client once who had paid what he thought was on his line 150 income and had entered into a settlement because he paid himself this dollar figure.
That's the income tax income.
The income tax,
Right.
right. And so, but then there was a review provision in the order that he signed. And when it went to review, the other side said, well, hold on. I don't care what you're paying yourself. You've got hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting in this company that
Right.
you could be paying yourself. And so the court said, yeah, you can do that, sir. So notwithstanding the fact that you think you're paying yourself a reasonable salary, your spouse is entitled, or your children are entitled, to these resources that you're setting aside for your corporation.
Unless
Right,
there's
right.
a real business reason why that money's sitting there.
And so that's,
Right.
a whole other level of instruction to clients is to, if you do have these corporations, Kevin and I are screwed because we have law corporations. What expenses do we have? We don't need to retain capital. But, if you are operating a business where you're driving, trucks and you have replacement, then, you're going to have to structure your affairs.
Absolutely.
And some people come to us early on in the process and say, how do I minimize my risk? That's part of the strategizing we can do. What can we do to make it so that your income can be fairly determined?
I need to take a quick break.
Absolutely.
Just before we go to the break, has anybody ever come to you and said, look, she's going to want a whole lot more than I'm prepared to give her. Can I just transfer this stuff down to a tax shelter in the Caribbean and be done with it?
Usually it's not tax shelter. It's usually, can I give this to my friend or my brother?
My mother is what I get all the time.
Oh, is that
can
right?
Can I give this to my mother?
And the legal
answer
advice
is no.
No. Okay. Our legal advisors on the program today, Rain Henderson and Kevin Heinrichs from Henderson Heinrichs LLP. Online. Check them out during the break. It's hhlaw.ca. We're back after this.
This is AM 650's The Law Show. There's more of the show still ahead.